Okay, third and final section, I believe, of our GOOGS Track videos. Heading east out of the GOOGS Lake camp area, back out to the GOOG Memorial. Check that out. Okay, so yeah, like I said, a few Ks. I didn't measure it, but I feel like we're about to hit the... Oh yeah, here we go. A couple of others already stopped. GOOGS Track Memorial. Denton Family Memorial. This has changed a bit over the last few years. Used to be a whole heap more cash and all the cans and stuff. They've added in a bit of extra concrete. You can see that's new in the last few years. That bit there's new also. Those are the old original and a new sign to go with it.
One could easily take it and make fortunes out of it.
Make fortunes, eh?
There's gun slots in there. There's a whole bunch of money in there.
Okay, so we're headed north towards Mt Finke, and this is the first sand dune. It's a bit rough, and then people like to go fast and rough, but well, you know, they just like to go smooth. But could be like one sand dune after the other. We just went through an intersection sign where it says Yellowbinner, continuing straight on. Heading north. Starting to get into a little bit softer sand. Not a lot. And it's of course a little bit rough because that's when people hit the gas because you need speed to get up the first time. Oh, but look, the next one. That looks like more fun. No, it's even got chicken tracks. There's chicken tracks on the left of this one. I can see. Mitch, can you see how many chicken tracks? Is it one or two? So let's just cruise up slowly and see how we go. Let's see how slowly it works for us this time. Should get harder as we go. Oh, gee. We should have gone so much faster and we would have got thrown around all over the place. So where most people speed up and start bouncing around digging the holes, that's where we slow right down. We're still on about 21 or 22 or 20 or, you know, roughly thereabouts, and we're able to crawl over it, so shouldn't be any need to go racing up and down. But you know, I know some people, it's fun and all that, yeah, okay, but it's rough on the vehicle, rough on you, and rough on the gear in your car. You know, that's where things, you know, they're going to rub and wear through. Might be fun. Is it going to be fun when that beer in the fridge starts leaking, or that gas can that's been rubbing, or whatever else? Yeah, there's lots of things. Gas bottles go flying around, depending where people have got them. I've seen them go moving around on roofs. Anyway, there's no need to be rough. Just slow down and enjoy the ride. That's what I'm thinking anyway. If it's a bit soft, you just let your tyres down a bit more, which, like we've talked about in other videos, just lengthens the footprint. It's not about the width, it's more the length. So we're cruising along about 30 k's. There we go, a little bit rougher, so we'll just slow it down. We don't need to jump over it. So that wasn't that bouncy enough. Oh, and that was at 15 k's. Had me time again. I'll drop it down to 10 over that bit. But anyway, a few holes going down them sometimes too, because some people do travel in the opposite direction. GOOGS Track, generally they won't prefer you. I don't think it's a rule, but it is two-way. But travelling north is the suggested, recommended way to do it. especially if you're going to be in peak times where there's other vehicles around. I think that's the way to do it, but like the Simpson, you can go whichever way you like. Good to see what's over the other side as well. I mean, you're less likely to have a head-on. You know, the whole sand flag helps, but if you're just slowing it down as you go over the top of a dune, whether it's here or any other dunes like the Simpson, it's probably wise to be able to drive up at a safe, comfortable speed for the vehicle. You've got a long way to go, and then there's, you know, you're going to see each other before you have a head-on. Something to think about. If you're both doing 40 k's over the top of a dune, coming together at 80 k's an hour, that's rough as guts there. So we'll just stop and get going again type thing. I mean, you know, and I don't use the brakes. That was just off the gas, let it slow down. Hitting the brakes just dives the nose down and makes it even a rougher ride. You know, you got to let the suspension do the work. Pretty well goes like this. You know, like I said, fairly overgrown narrow track. If anyone's done the border track, kind of similar to that, but I suppose some little bit bigger dunes. So the border track, yeah, very similar. The border track hasn't got as many dunes. It's got a couple of sort of bigger ones. Again, just leave your tyres up a bit if you want to have some fun and make it a bit harder, because they're pretty easy tracks, and obviously depending on the conditions when you go there, if there's been rain, if it's wet, it packs it down. If it's dry and hot, and who's been digging it up with their caravans and stuff like that, dragging the caravans up there, mate. Yeah, mate. Camper trail, mate. Well, this one looks like it's got some deeper ruts in it, so I was going to pull the pin, but let's see what we got here. Feels a bit softer there, but I can actually see the moisture still in the sand here in this one. So this is one that when it dries up, you may need to have lower tyre pressures than what we're on at the moment, but it's just doing it easy. I accelerated just to see, and it started pulling up the hill, so there's tons of traction at the moment anyway. Okay, so for the people that want some driver training or some tips, this is not driver training. I'm completely unqualified to drive. Well, I mean, to instruct you. So, just telling you what I do, what works for me. In this 150 Prado, we've got the traction control turned off by holding the button for about 5 seconds. We're in low range, we're in second start, and we've got the center diff lock on. It's in S4. It's in S4. I'm not changing gears, you know, first, second, third. I'm letting the auto do that. The transmission temp so far hasn't gone above 85 degrees in low range. That's why we're in low range. We've got a 40k speed limit, so it helps with the speed limit. A bit of speed control. When we need to slow down off the gas, it slows down quickly. If you're in high range, if you've got an auto, it's going to get warm a lot quicker. It's going to do it a lot harder. You know, if you've got a big powerful V8 or even a V6, it could be different, but if you're running a 4-cylinder diesel, low range is going to get you the torque you want at a controlled delivery when you want it. Second start is so that you've got a little bit more momentum and less wheel spin. First will tend to have a bit too much torque and too much wheel spin. More likely to wheel spin than get you going, if you know what I mean, or keep you going if it kicks back to first. Rarely do we use first in low range, mainly for coming down hills, steep hills. Let's hold the track there. Sort of going up very steep stuff where you're sort of hopping across rocks, where you need to just keep your tyres on the ground and you're going real slow, and it's that steep, it's just working it too much in second. That's where we'll bring it back to first. You just take it real slow and gently to keep the traction. But here on the sand today, this is working. As I said, we've got the KO2s on, which you'd think is fairly aggressive and not the best tyre for sand, but I've found them very good in sand, where I've had other tyres less aggressive, where you think, oh, These will be great in sand, you know, nice sort of smoother road tyre type stuff. And guess what? They just don't do as well, so I can't really explain that. But that's what we're doing in this vehicle. If we're in like a 120 Prado, we'd certainly be in low range, so the centre diff lock would be on. You've got your LSD at the rear standard, and that's all you should need. Second start again, let the vehicle do its thing. There's no need to really control it, as long as you put it in fourth and it'll just choose from second, third and fourth. Generally, as the revs hit about 2,500, that's where it changes up to the next gear. If you want to help it, you just sort of push it a bit past there and then back it off a bit, and it'll slip into the next gear. I heard a whisper about this bit of the track is really chopped up. I don't know if that was the last one or this one, whatever, but you know how you deal with that? You go slower. Well, it's important not to bounce around too much if you don't want to wreck your suspension. If you're topping out your shockers all the time, you're going to damage the internals. Right? So keep it under control is the way to do it. See, there was no issue with going nice and slow. Beautiful. This one looks like fun again. Let's try our slow technique again. For those that don't understand sand, so when it's dry and hot, it dries up obviously because it's hot, and people driving on it, spinning wheels, fluffing it up, loosens it up, makes it boggy. And when it rains, the water, like everything else, the water packs it down. So this sand might look dry on top, but I believe it's got quite a bit of moisture underneath. It is super traction, so there's just absolutely no need to go flying through, but circumstances are going to be different depending on what climate and, you know, temperatures and how much rain whenever you travel on any sand tracks. We've even been on Fraser where it was so dry and hot for a long time, people were getting bogged everywhere, and I don't mean all the ones just leaving their tyres up. It was really soft sand, but I've only experienced that once of the many trips that we've been to Fraser. Okay, other suspension damage we've seen and heard of from people driving on this track, GOOGS Track. Not just the damage that happens from bouncing around too much, constantly topping out the shockers or struts or coilovers, whatever you've got. And then you say, oh, these are rubbish, these things, I've only had them 7,000 Ks and it's like an ocean line. This is the thing, your suspension travel is limited, so you need to start thinking about that, because that's how you damage it. The other damage we've seen is the bottom of the strut or coilover, the round section that's got the bush in it, can break away. It's about 3mm thick in general, depends exactly what make and model suspension, and with the whole weight of the vehicle constantly bouncing on that, it can fatigue the metal each side of the upright, and it can break away. We've only seen that, I think it's Bilstein's, we've seen that a number of times, and at least once definitely on this track. So yeah, something to think about, bouncing around too much. Are you going to make it to the end of the track? Have you got spare suspension? Pretty inconvenient if you do break it. Okay, we're coming to a big one. No, just joking, something else I thought of in regards to suspension. Never seen one of the Dobinson's twin tubes, you know, the yellow ones broken at the bottom, like the Bilsteins do. Never seen one of the OME ones broken either. So maybe there's an issue with those Bilsteins at the bottom there. Something else to think about though. Have a look at the Dobinson's mono tube, those black ones. There's no way they are going to get broken at the bottom, right? Check out, go and have a search. If you haven't seen watching in my videos on my channel, search Dobinson's on our channel. Have a look at some suspension videos on 4x4 diesel, maybe our automotive channel, or just have a Google Dobinson's mono tube and have a look what I mean. You know, like it's just rock solid. It's the sort of stuff you need. You know, if you're going to go jumping sand dunes, and I don't recommend it because you're going to things are going to get damaged. But if you need strong, those mono tubes are not getting broken. Of course, that's what we got in this. Cruising along, same old, same old. Have a look at this one. You get the drift, how it goes, you know, it's how it goes. And a lot of it goes like this, and you can see, you know, we'll just smooth it out for everyone, you know, by taking it slow and paving the way. Yeah, pretty boring, isn't it? Just coming over this dune in the distance, you can see Mt Finke. See, left side of the picture? That's where we're headed. We're about halfway there from GOOGS Lake Camp Thingamajig. Alright, had a bit of a rest break halfway along towards the hill. Now we're cruising up it. Cruising up another dune. Finally caught up to the MUX for a bit of video action. Got the cruiser. He used to have a cruiser, but now he hasn't got a cruiser. But he's got a good value for money vehicle, and it's probably one of the better choices if you had to buy a new diesel full drive today. Really? I'm not saying I love Isuzus or even like them, but when you weigh up, it's got a 3 litre engine instead of a 2755cc, and the transmission sounds like it works better behind that engine. It's got quality running gear. It's just the car. I mean, the car, the manufacturing just seems to be a bit cheaper, but look, they do the job. And when you look at what you've got to pay to get even a GX Prado now, they're up to over 60 grand just for a GX. And he's picked that up for about 40 grand or so, so it's kind of like here he goes. Well, that looks choppy. Let's focus on the back tyre. Wheel spin. This is the other way you can go up sand dunes if you've got quality suspension. It's optional, quite smooth ride on the Dobbinson's monotube remote adjustable, but then you could come over the hill and go like that. See, dangerous. Hope you liked the demonstration. We had an idea, they were over the dune picking up a sand flag that was found, but could you imagine if there was an oncoming vehicle? There's no way you would have been able to stop. It's all bad news. So the best option is to take it slow and smooth. And that's where we're headed at the moment, Mt Finke. So we're at Mt Finke. We've had a bit of a lunch under the shade of a tree. Now just following the track near the picnic table along. And from here, if you look really carefully, middle of the picture, on the little, what's the thing called between the boobs? Yeah, there's a little trig point there. Cleavage is the word I was looking for. Right at the cleavage you can see the trig point. So Mt Finke, this is the end of the track, or a little car park if you like. The track continues on, vehicles prohibited beyond this point, so it's walking from here. And it's a bit warm and sunny, we're not doing it today. I'm going to head back down and back north on GOOGS. And sometimes you've got oncoming vehicles. Usually the bigger group gets right away and the smaller group can find somewhere to park, but we've done it the opposite way around this time, letting these three past. Happy days. Well, that completes the final leg of the GOOGS track. We're up the top of the railway line. You just come across the railway line and we're just here about to pump up the tyres and head off to the next destination. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, turn the bell on. Hope you enjoyed that information, it was helpful for you. Bada bing, bada boom. So yeah.